Let's hit the open road in a big rig. Let's get into it. Back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well out there. Today we're going to take a trip in a big rig. But before we take that trip, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here. I would appreciate that. Today we're going to talk about the movie Black Dog. I have never seen this film until last night. I got that Blu-ray on Amazon for about $10. So this was a brand new movie for me, a fresh watch, and this is going to complete my triple pack of my Summer of Swayze review series. This film was directed by Kevin Hooks. Kevin Hooks directed the Kick-Ass Passenger 57 with Wesley Snipes. This movie came out May 1st of 1998. It's PG-13, although it feels more violent than PG-13, but I guess it wasn't. Hour and 29 minutes long, had a budget of $30 million, and upon release, it only made $13 million. Now, Patrick Swayze's in this film, obviously. Summer of Swayze, baby. And he plays Jack Cruz in this film. Randy Travis plays Earl. Meatloaf plays Red. Graham Beckel plays Cutler. And Charles Dutton plays Ford. He's an FBI agent. Now, this film is about Jack Cruz. Patrick Swayze's character is an ex-truck driver. He went to prison for vehicular manslaughter. And what happened to him, they call it Black Dog. When you're on the road too long driving truck and you start seeing this black dog in the road. And one night he saw it on this rainy night. He's trying to make a home for his daughter's birthday. And he ended up crashing into a gentleman who was on the side of the road with his little girl in his pickup truck. And he killed them both. I do believe that's what happened. But now he's on probation. He's working as a mechanic on big rigs in the shop run by Cutler. And he has a wife and a little girl, and they live in this house, and he's living his American dream. It's nothing fancy, but it's a nice little house with a backyard with a good school nearby for his daughter to go to. But they owe some money on the house, $9,000. And lo and behold, Cutler has a deal for Cruz that if he drives his truck from Georgia up to Jersey, he'll pay him $10,000 in cash and solve all of his monetary issues. And begrudgingly, Jack takes the job, goes down to Georgia, meets Red, who sets him up with a big rig to drive. He has no license, though. And they tell him, well, don't get caught then. If you don't get caught, you don't need a license. So he gets down there. He gets teamed up with Earl to drive in the truck with him. And then there's two other guys in the car that's going to follow behind them, Sonny and Wes. And they were just kind of running as a lookout to make sure everything's okay. But the problem is, Red's a greedy son of a bitch, and he wants the weapons in this truck because they're running guns along with toilet fixtures and all that to try to hide it, and he wants it for himself to make some goddamn money. So this puts Jack in a very peculiar situation. He has to get this load back to Jersey to make Cutler happy and get the 10 grand to save his house. But in the meantime, Cutler doesn't think, after their first interaction with Red and some of his goons, where there's some really kick-ass practical stunt work here, we'll talk about that as we go along, Cutler is starting to think that Jack's not going to be able to pull through, so he takes his wife and his daughter hostage to force his hand to make sure he gets his ass back to Jersey and deliver those frickin' guns. And that is pretty much Black Dog. So we get a lot of vehicular mayhem in this film, and there's definitely, the practical stunts are fantastic here. That is definitely one of the highlights of the film, besides the cast. I think the cast is a pretty kick-ass little cast here. And Jack and his gang here that he gets thrown in with, who he's not sure he can trust at first, but as they go along, I really do like their chemistry together, especially him and Randy Travis and the gentleman who plays Sonny, and even Wes. Even though Wes is a little odd, and they find out Wes is kind of screwing them along the way. He's been calling and telling Red exactly where they are because he happens to keep finding them on the highway. And but then he changes his mind and he's on their side then. But the action scenes and the stunts are fantastic throughout the film. I got to give them props, and Kevin Hooks props for the way he shoots it. Fantastic work by the stuntman, the film crew, everybody. I love Patrick Swayze here as just playing this normal every guy who happened to go to prison for something that can happen to any one of us, being tired at night and, you know, it's raining out. It could happen to anybody. And he's just trying to rebuild his life with his family, and he gets thrown in a situation to try to quell his financial situation. And we meet some people along the way. Randy Travis is really good here. He's done other films. He's always very likable here. Meatloaf is fantastic as one of the bad guys. Although he's one of the bad guys. Graham Beckel, even though he starts off as an ally, turns into one of the bad guys along the way. And, you know, like I said, the stunt work is great. The story is very simple, just running these guns, and, you know, Red's trying to hijack the load. So, and they get pulled over by the cops, you know, at this weigh station, and there's suspense there. The interaction between the main core, especially once they're finally in the truck together, Sonny, Wes, Earl and Jack. I like them together, this core group together. They work well together. They have good chemistry. Unfortunately, Sonny gets killed along the way, but Jack does deliver. But he sets up Cutler by letting the FBI know what's going on. And then there's a shootout at this boat where Jack's supposed to deliver the guns. And then we get this tacked on action scene. And it's kind of weird. Even the boat scene, once Jack gets there and he sets Cutler up with the FBI and he's getting his wife and his daughter back, the scene, all the action up until then is pretty well done. So you can tell they spent the money there. At least it looks that way. Once we get to this finale at this boat, it feels cheap and kind of an afterthought compared to what came before it. The action was so well done and the stunts were spectacular. This shootout just feels cheap and almost like it wasn't really that well planned out. I don't know if that's the case. There's not much info on this movie online. The little I did find, there wasn't really anything about the production other than Patrick Swayze actually did go to a truck driving school and got his Class A CDL license for the movie. But other than that, there's not much about the production itself. So this last finale should have been great, but the action scenes that came before it are way better. So you could tell almost like they spent all the money up front, and then towards the end they kind of ran out of money. Because even the way it's shot, the way it's lit, it looks cheap compared to the rest of the film. And then we get this tacked on sequence where the FBI asks Jack for him to drive the truck to impound for them, which is kind of an odd request. They would just have it goddamn towed. Why would they have him drive it? But at this point, they told him they're gonna take care of his house financial situation. They're gonna give him his CDL back, and he's in the good graces of law enforcement at this point. But then they ask him to drive the truck to impound, and it's just weird that they would add. There's no way they would, and I know this is just a movie. And then all of a sudden, Red shows up in her truck and tries to run Jack off the road, even though the guns are gone at this point. Red has no reason other than Jack did kill his kid, I guess, because his kid was an idiot, and Jack ran him off the road. But it just feels weird, and it's not well shot, really. It's almost like it was shot by a different director compared to what had come before it. And it kind of, Red gets killed, and the stunt's pretty good once we get to that. But then the movie just kind of ends, and that's the end of Black Dog. So it's kind of odd the way it ends. Like the finale is less than stellar compared to what had come before it, the action scenes, and then this tacked on sequence with Meatloaf trying to get revenge on Jack just kind of comes out of nowhere. And the FBI even asking him to drive to impound just smells a little like bullshit. But the plot needed to happen so we can get that final scene with Meatloaf, I guess. But it almost feels like Meatloaf's character should have been dealt with way before we got to this point, and then Cutler should have been dealt with in the finale. But like I said, it just feels. The finale and this tacked on part just feels a little out of place and almost cheap and shot by a different director. Like I said, I don't know if that's the case or not, but it just felt like that to me. But overall, I still like this film. The practical stunts are awesome. Swayze's great. The whole cast works well together here. It's pretty well shot by Kevin Hooks until the finale. Like I said, it's like a different movie at that point. Like it didn't belong with this film. But I know you had to have a resolution for him to get his daughter and wife back. It just felt odd and kind of cheap, like they ran out of money at that point. But overall, I enjoyed this. It was a first-time watch. This isn't... Roadhouse is a better film, and obviously Point Break is way better of an action film, but I had a good enough time with it. It feels almost like in the same vein of Smokey and the Bandit, kind of. It kind of feels like in that same vein. It's kind of like that, but with a big rig, and they're running guns instead of trying to get beer. Because I love Smokey and the Bandit, and this is kind of similar to that. Again, the cast is great. The practical stunt work here is fantastic. It's just my main problems is it's a pretty simplex story. It's a simple story. It's nothing complicated about it. I just think that end part is really what brings it down a little bit. It just feels off to me. But overall, I still enjoyed it. At the end of the day, I'd give Black Dog a 7 out of 10. It's a perfectly enjoyable action flick. It moves at a brisk pace at an hour and 29 minutes long. The cast is game here. They all work well together. So yeah, at the end of the day, 7 out of 10 for Black Dog. If you've ever seen this film, leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I would appreciate that. I will have some reviews coming up next week before I go on vacation. I won't be back until July 5th. Don't forget about my Discord. Search me out on there, just my name. And we can talk movies all day, every day on there. Some really great folks on there that love movies as well. And I will see you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.